Elizabeth. Hi, good morning.
Hi, Schatz.
Elizabeth, I am delighted and honored that you were able to come today. One of the things that this is something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, to have an interview with you and to have you on tape. Back in many, many years ago, you were one of actually you were my first teacher who introduced me to dance therapy. And I never forgot the importance that you played in my own development of my own career. So I'm really delighted that you're here today. And the field of dance therapy has really been enriched by your presence as a pioneer. You have been seen as a pioneer by the organization, and your pioneering work with children is really renowned. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is how you really became to be involved in dance therapy, and specifically how you became involved with working with children.
Well, I started to be called a dance therapist when I met Claire Schmees at one of our dance teachers conference, where I also have been a founding member. And Claire at that time had started to work with Marion Chase in Washington. And they had discussed to start a dance therapist organization. And when she knew that I worked with deaf, she said, "Lisa, you are a dance therapist." And I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Well, we work with handicapped at that time with children." You see, she started also in Washington with children. And so I told her, well, if you think so, maybe I am a dance therapist, but I really think I'm only a dance teacher, and in this case with the deaf. Mm-hmm. And so I became a dance therapist. Mm-hmm. And after we found other interested, like our precious Espenac, we started the whole organization, I think. And it was first Lillian and I met at dance at the Turtle Bay School. Yes. And discussed what is a dance therapist. Mm-hmm. We were the first one to formulate what is a dance therapist. Mm-hmm. And I remember we discussed movement and how movement expresses. And I said, well, you know, for me, it's already important if I get a child to lift an arm. Mm-hmm. And you can't call that dance, mm-hmm. but I feel it belongs to dance. Mm-hmm. And that's how we worked on our first formulation, what is dance therapy. So while I worked with children, it was really Lillian, when I heard her, how she talks with grown-ups, I said, I could never work with a grown-up who, in my opinion, would rather need a little physical punishment when she has problems, when she is happily married, has healthy children, has all what she needs to keep a home running, mm-hmm. and then tells what she heard she tells you, she can't live anymore because she is English, and in New York, as living as an English woman, it's unbearable.
So that's an example of the kind of patient that perhaps Lillian would have worked with.
I couldn't work with people like this, mm-hmm. but with children, I love to work. Mm-hmm. And so, in spite that I had in Europe, I had worked with grown-ups as dance teacher, and more as dancer and mm-hmm. choreography. Mm-hmm. Here, I only worked with children.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the background that led you to being a dance teacher and then becoming a dance therapist? Because you spoke about in Europe you worked with adults and you were teaching dance. What led you to teach
first
dance?
I was a dancer.
Yeah.
And you know, probably every dancer knows when they need money, they start to teach dance. And I think that is the one course that you did. So I started to teach dance, and only once I was asked to do choreography for a children's theater. And there I found out I had an immediate rapport with the children. And so I knew I could work with children. But when I came to this country, the question of money was the most important one. And I have worked with grown-ups here, but primarily it was the children that attracted me, you see. And when I started here with classes, I started with grown-ups, with Keep Fit classes.
Yeah.
And there I had my very first experience as a therapist for grown-ups, when women told me, you know, I come sometimes very tired, and I had really considered I wouldn't come. And now I feel wonderful, let's have a little tea party now. Or they would tell me, you know, my husband said, go to these dance classes. You are different afterwards when you come home. Well, they even mentioned some other points that extension and so on helps, but I mean, I don't want to get into detail. But the fact is, I found that dance helped the people to lift their spirits. And then with children, you know, I was teaching for quite some years, and it became, how shall I say, not anymore a profession where I feel justified. And you know, when you get older, you want to have a life that you have to justify before your creator. Why did I live? All right, now I had a good family and I have a child and all this. But what did I really accomplish? All right, I made some women happier, and children were good, and afterwards, when they were 17, 18, and left high school and left me, some of them still write me Christmas cards, and this is now 50 years. But I mean, still it didn't feel worth my life. And one day I passed the Lexington School of the Deaf on Lexington Avenue, and they had a big playground. And I watched these children. I watched how did they play different. No, they didn't play different. They played like any children. I wonder how they would dance, because they can't hear music. And for me, music and dance is the same. And I went in. And the head of the department was there. She was a lovely woman from Maine. And I said, Miss Hodgkins, I have an idea. Could I dance with these kids? She said, you would? For years I want somebody who really dances. We have a wonderful woman who teaches ballet for phrasing. The children have to learn phrasing. But to dance with, really dance with them? I said, yes. Well, she said, do you want to try it? So I said, yes. And she said, well, I tried once a young teacher to get to try it, but she only lasted a month. Well, I can say I lasted 17 years.
In the same school at Lexington School?
Yeah, but they moved. They moved from Lexington Avenue out to Queens, and now it is a whole block. And at my time, we had nothing. I took an old winter coat when I wanted the boys to tumble. Because, you see, I believe in physical movements, especially for boys, and they love to tumble.
So you used your coat as a mat?
Yeah. And now they have in this new Lexington School, which is now, of course, also already an old school, a whole gymnasium covered with mats. I mean, what they did in this new school is fabulous. It's fabulous. But ours was very primitive. Now, I was, after a while, seeing it's important that the children get excited about this whole thing. And if you want me to tell you, I feel my success with dance therapy, and I'm honest to say I feel whatever I did, I was successful. I found in the Lexington School of the Deaf. Because when I saw the children turn their head, they were lost for me. They didn't hear anything, they didn't see anything. So I have to work so that the children are interested and the children use their visual abilities. And to do that, I had to bring props. And now, of course, I think between my colleagues, I was known as a dance therapist who uses a lot of props. Now, since I didn't have too much money, and as I say, I was a new thing, so nobody would have invested in them. My props were lighting a candle and let them watch the flame and let them see how the flame grew, but the candle became less. I remember once...
Well, before you go on, how would that be considered part of the dance therapy session?
In fact, I had an actual therapeutic success with that story. I had very lively kids. They were not deaf. That was already later on when I started to work, after my success, so to speak, with the deaf, with emotionally disturbed. And I had a very lively group, hyperactive. And I wanted to calm them down. And I think it was around Christmas time. And I brought a candle. And of course, that was already interesting. And then I lit the candle. And I said, now watch out. I will blow very, very carefully what will happen to the flame, because you will have to do that. And I blew very, very careful, and of course the flame started to move. And then I said, now each one of you will blow the candle and will watch how the flame moves. But if you blow hard and wild, it will die. It was a strong word. Maybe I shouldn't have used such a strong word. Honey, I remember we usually had 6 kids in the group that had been little lively. They would stand each one with a candle and the most careful blow, and the others watched. And the flame did not go out, not with one. And afterwards we had, of course, movement up and movement down, and each one felt elated that they had done it. Now this was, this is a little example.
Right.
With the deaf, it was not a question of emotion.
Yes.
With the deaf, all I wanted to get soft movement and high and low. Well, if you want other explanations.
Well, one of the things, before you go on for other explanations, I know that you've been, as you said, before you mentioned something about physical exercise, and I sort of want to go back for a moment, because I know that you have a background in physical